Here on the channel, I've covered a number of deadly animals, ranging from the unexpectedly deadly, such as the little yet extremely lethal blue-ringed octopus and Antarctic leopard seals, to more expectedly deadly apex predators such as sharks, orcas, American alligators, grizzly bears, and, of course, who could forget my feature film-length video detailing every deadly saltwater crocodile attack in Australia throughout its history. Notably, the animal that is the focus of this video, the hippopotamus, or hippo, will likely fall into the former category for some of you, and in the latter for others of you watching who are more familiar with hippos and their literal multiple millenniums long documented deadly history with humans, and likely have seen their inclusion on the channel at some point as an inevitability. However, even those that are familiar with hippos and their ferocious reputations might not fully comprehend just how lethal these massive, yet unusually endearing freshwater-dwelling mammals can actually be when humans provoke their ire, which is not a particularly difficult task to accomplish, as hippos are renowned for their unpredictable and extremely aggressive territorial behavior and their willingness to engage and attack those who encroach on their territory, with their aggression extending far beyond that of most even existentially fearless apex predators, such as the aforementioned sharks, crocodiles, and grizzly bears. And perhaps the simplest way to illustrate just how deadly hippos truly are is to compare the fatality rates of hippo attacks to those of the three aforementioned apex predators, as approximately 4.8% of grizzly bear attacks prove to be fatal, while 22.7% of shark attacks and 25% of crocodile attacks ultimately result in the victim's death. Now, in comparison, while data regarding hippopotamus attacks is notoriously underreported and not as generally well documented overall as the aforementioned three, it is estimated that between 30 and 87% of hippo attacks ultimately prove to be fatal, and thus hippos, even by the lowest attack fatality rate estimates, are statistically more likely to kill a person during an attack than three of the most feared apex predators on the planet. Hippos are an enormous species of mammal that primarily inhabit freshwater rivers and lakes across the continent of Africa. These enormous herbivores sustain their massive bodies by grazing on approximately 90 pounds of plant material per day. Male hippos, on average, weigh an incredible 3,260 pounds, with exceptionally large male specimens reportedly weighing in at over 5,800 pounds, and typically grow to be between 9.5 feet to over 16 feet in length, while female hippos, on average, weigh 3,009 pounds and are generally slightly smaller than males overall, but are otherwise not sexually dimorphic and are essentially indistinguishable from younger, smaller male hippos at a glance. Hippos, as I mentioned earlier in the video, are highly territorial animals, as an alpha male hippo will claim a territory exclusively within its inhabited waters, which it will aggressively defend against any and all intruders, which is how humans, as well as other animals unfortunate enough to find themselves within a hippo's territorial waters, including very frequently Nile crocodiles, most often end up facing the unbridled and frequently lethal wrath of the enraged resident hippo's mighty maw and immense size. Notably, while hippos are, in fact, grazing herbivores, they are also equipped with massive, sharply pointed canine and incisor teeth, which continuously grow throughout their lifespan, with the former reaching lengths of over 20 inches long, with the latter reaching up to 16 inches in length. Additionally, hippos are able to uniquely, widely gape open their powerful jaws to utilize these massive teeth offensively, as this is their primary and sole purpose for existing, as these large and sharp teeth, as well as the overall highly flexible structure of their jaw muscles, are otherwise antithetical to their herbivore diet. And hippos actually graze in a rather unique and particular manner, utilizing their lips to pluck and transfer the plant material to their molars in order to chew it properly. Further bolstering their combat capabilities defensively, hippos are equipped with not only their massive physical frames, but are protected by their over 2.5-inch thick skin, which also interestingly secretes a dark reddish acidic substance commonly referred to as blood sweat, which serves as a natural sunscreen, protecting their skin from the sun and drying up too much when not submerged in the water. On the morning of November 17, 2014, 17 local school children, as well as one adult man, would load aboard a small transport boat on the Niger River, located just outside the rural town of Liboré in the African nation of Niger, to embark on a brief journey across the river in order to transport the children to school on the other side, a relatively common practice in the area. While the initial leg of the journey would progress without issue as it normally did, as the boat reached just around the centermost region of the river, suddenly the agape jaws of a large and angry hippo emerged from the murky waters of the river just mere feet from the boat. Unfortunately for the occupants of the vessel, they would have little time to react to the hippo's sudden and threatening appearance, as it would immediately proceed to rush towards the boat, jaws agape, and its overwhelming size and power would become immediately apparent to the vessel's occupants as it began to viciously assault the boat, which would almost instantaneously capsize the vessel, subsequently plunging all 18 passengers aboard it into the murky, churning waters of the river with the enraged hippo. After the passengers of the boat had been flung from the vessel into the river's waters, a violent scene of utter chaos, orchestrated by the screams of both the victims and multiple witnesses to the attack back on shore, would erupt. Tragically, of the 17 school children aboard the boat that morning, only 5 of them would manage to escape the vicious attack and flee back to shore with their lives intact, as the remaining 12 students aboard the boat, as well as the adult man piloting it across the river, would not be so lucky themselves, as they would all perish either as a result of being mauled by the hippo or drowning in the river amidst the violence and chaos unfolding around them. In the aftermath of the attack, local authorities would announce that they had filed an order to hunt and kill the large male hippo that had perpetrated the deadly attack. However, despite my best efforts, I couldn't find any information as to whether authorities would actually follow through with hunting and killing the hippo, as this announcement would mark the final time officials would publicly address this deadly attack. While this, at least on the surface level, is a bit puzzling, no follow-up, even regarding such a particularly deadly attack. However, the likely and admittedly rather bleak reason for the lack of any further publicly available information regarding the incident is likely simply, while this attack was particularly deadly in terms of a single incident, deadly hippo attacks are a fairly common occurrence in Niger, and thus follow-up information was likely deemed as unnecessary or uninteresting to local media sources, as the 13 victims of this incident would likely be seen by most in the country as little more than additional names added to the already long and extensive list of victims of hippo attacks in the country. However, for the family and friends of the victims, the tragic events and resulting heartbreak suffered on and after November 17th, 2014, as well as the many loving memories of the victims who lost their lives in the attack, will live on with them in their hearts forever. Thank you all for watching.